Hello there and welcome to this session. In this session I'm going to be showing you how to create relationships between the tables in your database. Now remember when we first started databases, I told you that a database is called a relational database because all the tables in the database relate to each other. Think of a database as a family. If you have a brother or a sister, you relate to each other through your parents, i.e. your mom and your dad. So in a database, once again, every single bit, every data table relates to each other through the primary key and the foreign key. Okay, think of it as a mom and dad. Okay, the primary key maybe being the dad and the mom being the foreign key. Okay, these are the things which relate the tables together. In front of us here, I have an imaginary database for a driving school. I'm going to open all the data tables. I have the instructor table, I have the lesson table, I have the lesson type table, and I have the student table. Okay, I'll start with the instructor table. Let's just look at it in design view. Now if we look at the instructor table in design view, we can see the instructor ID, which is the primary key. Okay, and it's an auto number. Okay, so that is exactly what we want it to be, just checking. Okay, let's go to lesson table. If we look at the lesson table as well in design view, we can see that we have the lesson number, which is the primary key, which is an auto number, but then we have student ID, okay, and instructor ID. Now if you look at the instructor table, the primary key, which was instructor ID, okay, in the lesson type table, okay, or the lesson table, it's now a foreign key, okay, and it's no longer an auto number, but it's a number. So please make sure that any foreign keys you have in your data table are formatted with the data type number, or else you cannot do the relationships. Okay, so just make sure of that. So we have instructor ID, which is from the instructor table, okay, which is right there, okay, and it's an auto number. If you come to lesson table, it's a number. Okay, we have student ID here, which is a foreign key, which is a number. Okay, now when we go to the student table, the student ID, if you look at it in design view, the student ID is an auto number and is the primary key. So now we're going to start. Now that we've made the check that all our foreign keys are formatted with the data type known as number and our primary keys are auto number, we can now start creating the relationships. So all we do is we go to database tools and we click on relationships to start. Okay, this opens a small dialog box, and in this dialog box we are going to choose what tables we want to use. There are 4 tables. We want to add them all, so we'll start with the instructor table and click on add. We click add to add the instructor table. We click on lesson table to add it as well, so click on add. We click on lesson type and click on add. We click on student table, okay, and click on add. Now we have all our 4 tables in one place. We can define the relationships between them now. Let's click close, okay, and you can move the tables around, click and hold and drag them around, okay, so you can make some space for what we were about to do. So let's just move them around a bit. You can also drag the ends of it to see all the data fields in there. Okay, so let's just drag them out so we can see them, make it look very informative. Okay, now let's start with the instructor ID, which is on the instructor table. It's a primary key. We need to find its relationship to a foreign key in another table. So instructor ID is in instructor table and it's in lesson table. So it's a primary key here, but it's a foreign key there. So what we do is we simply click on instructor ID and drag it to the other instructor ID where the foreign key is and release. Okay, and then the edit relationships box opens and it says instructor ID to instructor ID. That's what we want. Click on enforce referential integrity, which is this checkbox here, and click on create. Okay, now once you click on create, I want you to pay attention to this. It says that the database engine could not look table lesson table because it's already in use. Okay, what it means is before you do this editing relationships, you have to go and you have to close all of the data tables that you have open. So let's just close all of them, okay, which is very important. That's to show you you will not be able to edit any relationships unless you close the tables. So now that they're closed, let's start again. Instructor ID, click and hold and drag it down to instructor ID in lesson. Release, select enforce referential integrity. Relationship type says one to many. I'll explain that. And click on create. Now instantly a relationship is created and it's telling you that one instructor on the instructor ID table can teach many lessons. These two circles joined together means many, and this is one, and we call this a one to many relationships. And basically all that mean is that one instructor can teach many lessons. Okay, that's a one to many relationship. Okay, next we will start with student ID. Let's see if we can find student ID anywhere else. So we have student ID here, and we have student ID in the lesson table as well. Okay, so let's just move it around. I'll bring student ID down here. I'll click it from primary key and drag it to the foreign key. Let's do that now. Once again, we have the same thing, student ID to student ID. Click enforce referential relate integrity and click on create. And once again, you have it there. And just as I explained, these two bubbles here mean many and this means one. And what it means is one student can have many lessons. So the relationship is called a one to many relationship. Okay, so one student, many lessons, and that is an example of a one to many relationship. Okay, so now let's drag this up here and let's start again. Lesson type ID, can we find the foreign key for it? Okay, let's just go through and see if we can find lesson type ID. It's once again in the lesson type, lesson table. So all we do is click on the primary key and drag it to the foreign key. Okay, and we have lesson type ID, enforce referential integrity, and click on create. Okay, and here we have it. Let's drag this down so our arrows don't crisscross each other. Okay, let's arrange it properly. Let's move this up a bit. Okay, and that is also a one to many relationships. Okay, it means that on the lesson table there are many lesson types. So one lesson type may be taught to a different number of students, okay, and a different number of instructors may teach it on the lesson table. And that is how we show the relationships. Okay, these are your relationships within the table. Once you're done, if you want and you want to print this out, you can click on relationship report. If you click it once, this will open a new sheet. Let's just wait for it to open. Okay, and on this you can see clearly, okay, the relationships within your table, clearly formatted for you. Okay, you can print screen this and you can put it into your database. Now my task for you is to download a copy of the test practice database from the website. I want you to now try and practice to see if you can create these relationships by yourself, okay, in Microsoft Access.